All right, so tonight we're going to deal with part 2 of 11 actions of white affirmative action created by the U.S. government throughout history. Part 2, 11 acts of white affirmative action created by the U.S. government throughout history. We want to welcome everybody tonight to the Michael Imhotep Show. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep of the African History Network. You know, we have a lot of new listeners tonight. I posted information on our fan page, the African History Network, the African History Network. I also did a video today on YouTube. First time I've used my webcam. I have a HD webcam. It's the first time I've used it with my laptop that I got last year. So, because when I first tried to use it last year, sometime it was telling me software was out of date or something. I couldn't use the camera. And I'm like, wait a second, hold on. I just got this camera a few months ago. So then I tried again today, downloaded the proper software, and it worked. So I did a video today to promote tonight's show and talk a little bit about what we talked about last night. Originally, the video was supposed to be about 5 minutes, ended up being about 45 minutes. So, hey, okay. But last night we had a great show. And we have information about tonight's show and last night's show posted on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network, okay? That's our Facebook fan page. We have about 530,000 followers on the fan page, so check that out there. All right, so we're going to do a part 2 tonight. Part 2, 11 acts of white affirmative action created by the U.S. government throughout history. And we want to hear from you as well, okay? The call-in number is 888-669-2281. 888-669-2281 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. All right, now, we're also going to talk about Elizabeth Warren, Senator Elizabeth Warren. We ran out of time last night. Did not get a chance to talk about this, but I want to try to hit this tonight in the late in the second hour. Elizabeth Warren, a few days ago, came out strong in support for Black Lives Matter, so we'll talk about that some. And then yesterday, on Capitol Hill, Cecile Richards, president of Planned Parenthood Federation of America, was grilled by Republicans at a congressional hearing, okay, on Tuesday. We'll talk about that some in the second hour as well, and we'll deal with this date in African-American history as well, okay? Now, on the Michael Imhotep Show, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's corrects wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you have been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. So when you control the radius of a man's thoughts, you can control the circumference of his actions, because the mind can do or teach what it doesn't know. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here on the show. We deal with current events, history, politics, education, economic empowerment, entrepreneurship, relationships, love, sex, health issues, and much, much more. Okay, sign up for our email newsletter. Text the word Kemet, K-E-M-E-T. Text the word Kemet, K-E-M-E-T, to 22828 to sign up for our email newsletter, or go to our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, and click on newsletter at the top of the page, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, okay? We have a lot of information on our website. My video clips are there. You can order my DVD presentations there also. We have a recommended reading list of about almost 60 books there as well, because people have been asking me for some time, you know, what type of books should I read. So I put together a recommended reading list of books. We also have solutions. We also have a list of solutions we can implement in our communities right now as well. Okay, so check that out as well, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. At the top of the page, you can click on Solutions. My bio was there also. If you want to bring me in and do a presentation for your group or organization, email me at info, I-N-F-O, at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, info, I-N-F-O, at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. If you want to bring me in and do a presentation for your group or organization. If you want to email me an article or something like that, you can do that as well, info, I-N-F-O, at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TuneIn.com, and Periscope at Michael Imhotep, IMHOTEP. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TuneIn.com, and Periscope at Michael Imhotep, IMHOTEP. Okay. Also follow us on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network. All right, now to listen to the show, download the TuneIn Radio app to your Android phone, your iPhone, your BlackBerry, your tablet, and search for Empowerment Radio Network, Empowerment Radio Network, or go to TuneIn.com, and search for Empowerment Radio Network, Empowerment Radio Network at TuneIn.com also. You can also go to our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. At the top of the page, click on Radio Shows. Click on Radio Shows at the top of the page, and click on the link for the click on the link for the Michael Imhotep Show. Okay, and it tells you there how to listen to the show as well. All right. Okay. The Empowerment Bundle Pack is still available. Get 6 of my DVD presentations for one low price. Empowerment Bundle Pack 1 and 2. In the Empowerment Bundle Pack 2, you get my presentations dealing with should African Americans celebrate European holidays, the history of Christmas, Thanksgiving, and Easter. That's a 5-hour presentation. You get part 2 of the media's deliberate destruction of the African American family. Should African Americans celebrate Black History Month, exposing the myths, where I deal with the whole history of Black History Month, why it was created, what we need to do to make it relevant for the day and the future. And then I deal with dispelling myths in our history, like was John Hanson president? The Black John Hanson was not. I go through and break that down thoroughly. He was not on the back of the $2 bill either. I deal with was Africa named after Publius Cornelius Scipio Africanus, which it was not. I explain to you why. I deal with a number. That's a 4.5-hour presentation. I do a lot of information in that presentation. Also, the 13 Forms of Wealth, Keys to Entrepreneurship and Economic Empowerment, the relationship between economic empowerment and political empowerment, what the Black misleadership won't tell you. And part 2 is Slavery's Back in Effect, from miseducation to incarceration. Okay, and I just got an email. I may be in New York this weekend. Who is this? Freedom Party 2016. Freedom Party 2016. Brother Alton Maddox's organization. They're having their annual convention in New York this weekend. So I got a response back from them. So I may be in New York this weekend. I have to look at my schedule. I have to make travel arrangements tomorrow, because tomorrow is Thursday. Okay. All right. Okay, when we come back, we're going to jump right into this part 2 of the 11 acts of white affirmative action created by the U.S. government throughout history. We'll do a little recap of last night. Give us a call, 888-669-2281. 888-669-2281 is the call-in number. If you have a question or comment, you listen to the Michael Imhotep Show right here on the Empowerment Radio Network, where knowledge is power. And follow us on our Twitter page also, and our Facebook fan page, The African History Network. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Don't stop, y'all. Get down. Just rock, y'all. Get down. Don't stop, y'all. Get down. Just rock, y'all. Get down. Get down. Don't let us all the day. Don't let them define us. Don't let them confine us. You warriors from the underground railroads. You see two swamps. VIP in a restaurant. Hillside project. Get down. North Shore project. Get down. They give us black medallions to cover our hearts. Keep us far away from the most powerful parts of us. Because they keep us looking outside. And we won't bother looking inside. I'm too old a dude to be scared of profit. We from the old school, just still hip hop it. And we talk about what we see. Won't dumb it down, for running around dumb companies. You smarter than this, and we can come harder than this. To do a brag rap on the next song in the disc. Because right now, you know you all in the mess. America. And y'all sure this thing. Don't stop, y'all. Get down. Just stop, y'all. Get down. Don't stop, y'all. Get down. Just stop, y'all. Get down. Y'all. Yeah, we got the vibe, man. Don't stop, y'all. Get down. Just rock, y'all. Get down. Don't stop, y'all. Get down. Get down. Boy, I never heard those things and Latinos, Syrians, like Casino. Cycles around the world, got a knife around the neck of the world. Demands and respect you, girl. What a waste of power. Hip hop in the most powerful hour. And dabble, we building a tower. If we got a chance, the whole world under our trance. You can go to folks to the dance. Take me higher. When it came, the 10 years later, back in the game. Come on, push that faded. We believe in miracles. And the people worry about their welfare. They're not really doing well, they just do a fan. Without medical health care, pockets banned. Hiding they call from the repo man. Check and call RID before they answer their phone. Bill collectors call around the clock if they home, but they still want to gone and replace their life laws. Blacks want to be green, we want to recycle. Many of us poor, so we take the mass transport, walk streets of our feet. What the headphones are for? So SUVs, seconds till the mad smoke. All the baller images of us in the video. Most people that I know is on foot. Living green, naturally, it's all good. I recycle cans of paper goods in my hood, son. No trash house, cause trash is better than the trash. And the people go. I stopped to get some gas at the 6-0. I saw a brother passing by throwing trash out his window. I walked over and I picked it up. It was a styrofoam cup full of cigarette butts. He was a thug and a little bug. I'm just trying to be a man that's recycling. So we support waste management and their efforts to prevent waste from piling up on each continent. We separate the paper and elastic, then do the same, the cardboard and plastic. We take glass and balls filled with halogen and put aluminum and tin in a separate bin. My next again, yeah, we heard about it, but we've been letting Al Gore friends worry about it. So where we from, small covering. So I'm dedicating this verse to helping Mother Earth to recover then.
Welcome back to the Michael Imhotep Show right here on the Empowerment Radio Network where knowledge is power. All right, that's Greener by Arrested Development. Greener by Arrested Development. Visit their website, arresteddevelopmentmusic.com, arresteddevelopmentmusic.com. Okay. Before that, you heard Miracles by Arrested Development. Here is Martin, Marcus, and Malcolm M to the third power talking about economic empowerment.
American Negro collectively is richer than most nations of the world. We have an annual income of more than $30 billion a year, which is more than all of the exports of the United States and more than the national budget of Canada. Did you know that? That's power right there if we know how to prove it.
We should own and operate and control the economy of our community. We have to become involved in a program of re-education to educate our people into the importance of knowing that when you spend your dollar out of the community in which you live, the community in which you spend your money becomes richer and richer. The community out of which you take your money becomes poorer and poorer. And because these Negroes who have been misled, misguided, are breaking their necks to take their money and spend it with the man. The man is becoming richer and richer, and you're becoming poorer and poorer. And then what happens? The community in which you live becomes a slum. It becomes a ghetto. The conditions become run down. And then you have the audacity to complain about poor housing in a run-down community. While you're running down yourself when you take your dollar.
We've got to strengthen black institutions. I call upon you to take your money out of the banks downtown and deposit your money in Tri-State Bank. We are telling you to follow what we are doing. Put your money there. You have 6 or 7 black insurance companies here. Take out your insurance there. Now, these are some practical things that we can do. We begin the process of building a greater economic base. We've got to give ourselves to this struggle until the end. We've got to see it through.
So our people not only have to be re-educated to the importance of supporting black business, but the black man himself has to be made aware of the importance of going into business. And once you and I go into business, we own and operate at least the businesses in our community. What we will be doing is developing a situation wherein we will actually be able to create employment for the people in the community.
The black man must unite in one grand racial hierarchy, making a racial empire upon which the sun shall never set. Be black, buy black, kill black, and all else will take care of itself.
All right, that's M to the third power, Martin, Marcus, and Malcolm. Martin, Marcus, and Malcolm, M to the third power, talking about economic empowerment. Now, the words you heard from Dr. King that was from his speech, I've Been to the Mountaintop, okay, delivered August 3rd, 1968, one day before he was assassinated. The full speech is about 45 minutes or so, 45, 47, something like that. It's on YouTube, okay? You should listen to it. As I explain to people when I do my presentations and when I share that with people, in a lot of my lectures, I end it with that video of those 3 brothers. There's a reason why in mainstream media they just show you the last 2 or 3 minutes of that speech where he's talking about getting to the mountaintop and, I know we'll get to the promised land. I may not get there with you. There's a reason why they just show you that but don't show you Dr. King talking about economic empowerment, because they don't want you to think that Dr. King was dealing with economic empowerment, because whatever is disseminated becomes imitated. Whatever is disseminated becomes imitated. So they keep you just focused on some fictitious dream in so-called integration, okay, and they keep you focused on the speech from August 1963 as opposed to April 3rd, 1968, the day before he was assassinated. They also don't want you to know that toward the end of both of their lives, the ideologies of Dr. King and Malcolm X, their ideologies were converging. Okay, if you read Martin, the book by James H. Cone, Martin, Malcolm in America, A Dream or a Nightmare. Martin, Malcolm in America, A Dream or a Nightmare by James H. Cone. He deals with that in the book. Okay, so check that out also. All right, call-in numbers 888-669-2281. 888-669-2281 is the call-in number. If you have a question or comment, listen to the Michael Imhotep Show right here on the Empowerment Radio Network. Last night we dealt with part one of 11 acts of white affirmative action created by the U.S. government. 11 acts of white affirmative action created by the U.S. government. Okay. Tonight we're going to deal with part 2. So I've dealt with this subject matter before, and back in 2011 I did a 4-part series here on the show. On the African History Network show, I did a 4-part series that came from the Final Call, finalcall.com, okay? And they have a four-part series they did called Hard Work or Hardly Working, How White Folks Got So Rich. And it was, I think that information came out shortly before the first edition of their book, How White Folks Got So Rich, The Untold Story of American White Supremacy. I think it came out before that, okay? So, we share information like this on the show on a regular basis. But last Thursday, Jeb Bush, Republican candidate for president, at one point he was a front runner, not a front runner anymore. He made statements about African Americans getting free stuff, and that's why they are attracted to the Democratic Party. The Root.com has had an article from September 28th, 2015, which was Monday, and News1.com had an article September 25th, 2015. The article from News1.com, Jeb Bush says message of hope, not free stuff, will appeal to black voters, okay? And we talked about this last night on the show. And he said that they're going to win the African American vote by selling them basically promoting a message of hope and aspiration and not giving them free stuff like the Democratic Party. Basically, like the Democratic Party is giving them free stuff, and it sounds very similar to Mitt Romney and the 47%. Okay, so we talked about that, and what I talked about was how Jeb Bush will talk about giving away free stuff to African Americans, but he won't talk about corporate welfare, which costs about $100 to $150 billion a year. Okay, but he'll talk about welfare to poor people, the underprivileged, for that costs about $20 to $25 billion a year. He'll talk about that, but won't talk about corporate welfare, because the corporate welfare is going to his big donors. Okay, the people who are backing him. Okay, that's where the corporate welfare is going. So he doesn't want to talk about that. And then I also shared the article with you, and we talked about this article before here on the show as well. It's from yourblackworld.net, written by Yvette Carnell, and it deals with how white people make up 42% of the poor, but get 69% of the government benefits. Okay, how white people they make up 42% of the poor, but get 69% of the government benefits. And what's happened over a period of decades is that welfare, things like this, are when you think of who's on welfare, you automatically think of somebody African American because of the information that's been fed to people through the media. Not just African Americans, but white people also. The name of this article is "White People Make Up 42% of the Poor, but Take in Whopping 69% of Government Benefits." Okay? All right, so look, we're up on a break. We'll continue this another side of the break. You listen to the Michael Imhotep Show on the Empowerment Radio Network with Knowledge is Power. We'll be back in a few minutes.
The world with a side of it's universal, real and commercial, real animation in the water. Tired of seeing all black sons and daughters of, and 94 we slipped the knot. No tricks over the years, good as this the pop. Hip hop when it's changed, the 10 years later back in the game. Come on, push up the fader, we believe in miracles. Don't stop, y'all, get down. Just rock, y'all, get down. Don't stop, y'all, get down. Just rock, y'all, get down. Get down. No matter all the best, don't let them define us. Don't let them confine us. We warriors from the Underground Railroad, we see through swamps. VIP in a restaurant, Hillside Project, get down. North Shore Project, get down. They give us platinum medallions to cover our hearts. Keep us far away from the most powerful parts of us. Just to keep us looking outside, and we won't bother looking inside. I'm too old a dude to be scared of profit. We from the old school, this is still hip hop, and we talk about what we see on Dumb It Down, because I'm in around Young Company. We smarter than this. If we could come harder than this, to do a brag rap on the next song in the disc. Because right now, you know you all in the mix. Miracle. And y'all still would say, don't stop, y'all, get down. Just stop, y'all, get down. Don't stop, y'all, get down. Just stop, y'all, get down. Put your hands together real quick for y'all. Yeah, we got the vibe, man. Check it out, man. Don't stop, y'all, get down. Just stop, y'all, get down. Don't stop, y'all, get down. Get down. B-boys, Filipinos, Asian, Latinos, you feel me as I kick your keynote. Ciphers around the world, got a knife around the neck of the world. Japan's in inspection, girl. What a waste of power. Hip-hop is the most powerful hour. Babel, we building a tower. But we got a chance, the whole world under our trance. We both use it for the coast of the band. The secret of the miracle.
Welcome back to the Michael Imhotep Show right here on the Empowerment Radio Network, where knowledge is power. All right. Follow us on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network. Okay, so right before the break, I was telling you how we got on this topic and dealt with this last night. We talked about Jeb Bush. I think it was Monday night on the show. We talked about it some more last night. Because I talked about it Monday night, that led to the conversation last night. And there was an article from AtlantaBlackStar.com, 11 acts by the U.S. government that proves white affirmative action has been the status quo throughout U.S. history, okay? So I was sharing some of that information last night, and I had other articles, other supporting information as well, okay? And I had so much information, we did not get through all of the main article last night, so we're doing part 2 tonight, have more information to share with you. And you can give us a call if you have a question or comment, 888-669-2281. 888-669-2281 is the call-in number. Before we jump into that, I want to give you this information here. I just got the email, 2016 National Black People's Convention. This is taking place, this is the planning conference taking place October 3rd, 2015, 7 p.m. At Galbraith AME Zion Church, located at 1114 6th Street, Northwest Washington, D.C. Oh, I need to be in Washington, D.C. Damn, okay. That's where I need to be. Okay. I knew New York sounded crazy. Okay, I need to be in Washington, D.C. this weekend. Okay, that's what it is. I need to be in, okay, so I'll be in D.C. 3 weekends in a row. I was in D.C. last weekend. No, weekend before last, I was in D.C. for the Congressional Black Caucus. I need to be in D.C. again this weekend and D.C. next weekend for the Black Wealth Matters Forum with Dr. Boyce Watkins and Ryan Mack. Okay, Friday, October 9th, day before the Million Man March. We'll be at Howard University. Okay, visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We have the information right on the homepage for Black Wealth Matters, Washington, D.C., October 9th, the forum. Dealing with wealth creation in the African American community, economic empowerment, entrepreneurship. Also, at the top of the page, click on events. Okay, but back to this quickly. Friday, October 3rd, Washington, D.C., Galbraith AME Zion Church, 1114 6th Street, Northwest Washington, D.C., Reverend Frederick Massey, Senior Pastor. Okay, speakers will be Joseph Griffith, Griffith, the moderator, attorney Alton Maddox, attorney at war, Alton Maddox Jr., Dr. Leonard Jeffries, one of my teachers, Anthony Browder. We've had Dr. Jeffries on about 17 times on the show. We've had Tony Browder on a few times, a number of times also, and also Dr. Frances Cress Wilson. I've interviewed her 3 times as well. Okay, so this for more information, contact Freedom Party at 917-947-8994, 917-947-8994 for more information. Okay. We'll get this flyer on our website also, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com as well. Okay. All right. So I think I have to check my schedule. I'm hoping I can make it there. Okay. That's going to be. Wait. Hold on. Wait. No. I need to be there. Hold on. Is that Friday or Saturday? Hold on. Just a second. I'm sorry. Because I just got this email like a few minutes before the show started, and they didn't put the date. So that's a Saturday. Okay. All right. Just a word of advice. You know, I have a background in marketing, right? Okay. So anytime you do a flyer and you have a date that something's supposed to take place, always put the day of the week that date is. Always put the day of the week and the date. Okay, please don't just that's just a word of advice. Okay, from being in marketing for like 20 years. All right. Okay, so 11 acts by the U.S. government that proves white affirmative action has been the status quo throughout U.S. history. All right. So we start with number 1. I'm just going to go through these briefly, and we're going to pick up where we left off from last night. The shows are archived, by the way, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Click on radio shows at the top of the page, and click on the link for the Michael Imhotep show. It has a link there that listen to the audio podcast. You can go back and listen to last night's show. So first we deal with indentured servitude, okay? We have this in the 1600s. Indentured servitude was the earliest form of white affirmative action established in the late 1600s. This system replaced white European indentured servants, the original source of no-wage labor, which enslaved black people. Now, an article entitled A Long History of Affirmative Action for Whites, which was published by California Newsreel, states that, quote, in exchange for their support in their policing of the growing slave population, lower-class Europeans won new rights, entitlements, and opportunities for the planter elite, okay, end quote. This phenomenon was only the beginning of the practice of white affirmative action in this country, an institution that is still very much a reality in today's society. So they're dealing with, starting with the 13 colonies. We know that the Spanish were in the territory we call South Carolina. They were taking Africans into that territory in 1526, but they're dealing with the 13 colonies here, okay? And another trick that has happened is that when you talk about affirmative action today, the face of affirmative action, the poster boy or poster girl for affirmative action are African Americans, but white women have been the number one beneficiary of affirmative action, okay? We have been pushed to the back burner when it comes to affirmative action. Okay, number 2, the Naturalization Act of 1790. Okay, Naturalization Act of 1790, and this basically stated that this is a white country. They put a 0% quota on the importation of free African people coming to this country. Okay, the only way you could come here is that it was as a slave, because they were trying to control the population of African people coming to this country. Also in 1790, the first census was taken as well. Okay, and the census was created to keep track of the population of African people in relationship to Europeans, because in some states they found that African people, made up 55, 60, 65% of the population, because they were being overran with slaves. And this is one of the reasons why the American Revolutionary War was fought, 1775, 1783. The colonies were being overran with slaves, and the Britain was just sending the slaves in, okay, because they wanted them to produce more crops that Britain could sell around the world to further enrich Britain. Okay, so you have the Naturalization Act of 1790, and in the article it says that this legislation, quote, opened the doors to European immigrants but not others, end quote. It did so by only allowing free white persons to be classified as naturalized citizens. As a result, only these white individuals were granted the right to vote, hold public office, and be part of a jury. In some cases, they were even permitted to own land. However, these rights would not be granted to those of African descent for hundreds of years. Okay, you have the Indian Removal Act of 1830. The Indian Removal Act of 1830. The Trail of Tears comes from this Indian Removal Act. Okay, the signing of the Treaty of New Echota, ECHOTA. The signing of the Treaty of New Echota, which resulted from a provision of the Indian Removal Act, led to the forced relocation of more than 16,000 Native Americans. Roughly 1 out of 4 travelers lost their lives to starvation, disease, or the cold weather along the way. Some sources will say like 1/3 of the population died, others 1/4 of the population. Okay. According to the California Newsreel article, Eastern Native Americans were forced to embark upon this journey to quote make room for white settlers, end quote. So they're being pushed off their land in southeastern United States, Alabama, North Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, Florida, things like this. They're being pushed off their land because Europeans want that land to grow more crops, to grow cotton, things like this, right? So they're pushed. They go 1,000, 1,200 miles out west, and they go into territories like Oklahoma, okay, which Oklahoma at this time was not a state. Okay, they go into Oklahoma. We know that Tulsa, Oklahoma, was founded by Creek Indians around 1834, 1836. All 5 civilized tribes of Native Americans, Choctaw, Chickasaw, Creek, Cherokee, and Seminole Indians, they all own black slaves. So when they go out on the Trail of Tears, they're pushed off their land. They take their black slaves with them, okay, and they go into these various territories, okay. So this was designed to take more land for Europeans. If you read How White Folks Got So Rich, the untold history of American white supremacy, untold story of American white supremacy, they deal in the first few pages, they deal with the theft of 2.3 billion acres of land of Native Americans. But you also have to talk about indigenous African people, because African people, and I talked about this in the video I did today, it's on our YouTube channel, MJ Rob 1914 on YouTube, or go to our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. At the top of the page, click on that YouTube banner. Takes you right to our YouTube channel, and we have it on our Facebook fan page also. African people are indigenous to this land. We've been here at least 51,700 years. Yes, the transatlantic slave trade happened. Yes, Jamestown, Virginia, August 20, 1619 happened, but millions of African people were already here before that even happened. Okay, we were here before Native Americans came into existence, here before Europeans came into existence. So we have to understand this history. Read the book, The First Americans Were Africans, Documented Evidence by Dr. David Imhotep. The First Americans Were Africans, Documented Evidence by Dr. David Imhotep. All right, we'll continue this on the other side of the break. You listen to the Michael Imhotep Show on the Empowerment Radio Network, 888-669-2281. 888-669-2281 is the call-in number. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Don't stop, y'all. Get down. Just pop, y'all. Get down. Don't stop, y'all. Get down. Just pop, y'all. Get down. Get down. Don't let us all the best. Don't let us define us. Don't let us confine us. We warriors from the Underground Railroad to C2 Swamps to Fit. VIP in a restaurant. Hillside Project, get down. North Shore Project, get down. They give us black and medallions to cover our hearts. Keep us far away from the most powerful parts of us. Because they keep us looking outside, and we won't bother looking inside. I'm too old to do to be scared of popping. We from the old school, this is still hip-hopping. And we talk about what we see, don't dumb it down. Cause I ain't around, so I'm confident. We smarter than this. And we can come harder than this. And do a brag rap on the next song in the distance. Right now, you know you all in a minute. America. And y'all sure would say, don't stop, y'all. Get down. Just pop, y'all. Get down. Don't stop, y'all. Get down. Just pop, y'all. Get down. Put your hands together on this one, y'all. Yeah, we got the vibe, man. Put your hands together. Don't stop, y'all. Get down. Just pop, y'all. Get down. Don't stop, y'all. Get down. Get down. Get down. Boys, Filipinos, Asian, Latino, the world, got a knife around the neck of the world. Demands and respect, girl. What a waste of power. Hip hop is the most powerful hour. Babble, we building a tower. But we got a chance, the whole world under our plan. Come on, you just go to social
Hotep, African History Network listeners. October 15th, tax extension deadline time is almost here. If you still haven't filed your taxes for 2014, let G&G Associates help you out. G&G Associates Tax Preparation Services is a black-owned business focused on easing our clients' minds on all their tax preparation needs. We guarantee to beat any other tax professional's price. All new clients who go to our Facebook page and like us will receive a 15% new client discount. You can find us on Facebook by going to hashtag GNGTax. That's hashtag GNGTAX. Or you can visit our website at gngassociates.net and click on the Taxes tab. Or call us toll-free at 877-220-8333. Again, that website is gngassociates.net.
You ain't gonna never see us gone because my Wall Street is black. Can you picture that? Gotta bring it back. Unify with that. Money coming back because that money flipping back. I said my money coming back because that Wall Street is back. Because I'm done joking, I'm heartbroken, I'm outspoken, I'm outgrowing, always open. I stay hoping, I'm God's mother, I stay focused. Gotta run away, I'm stage coaching. Keep the hope alive, I stay hoping. 30, 50 bucks in a square motion. GAP like a magic potion. Hey, Joe City tried to damage ya. Took to Oklahoma, little Africa. First bomb dropping in America. Tried to kill them all, we embarrass ya. Nothing up for heaven in the worst terrain. Now it's 40 acres and a million claim. Wanna kill us all, what you had to game. Make them disappear like David Wayne. No man, do the things you did. Kill my sister, kill my brother, kill my woman and kill. I am a man. Try the bomb to be violent. Taking pictures, you smiling. Homeless rate of $10. You ain't no man. Bombs and guns, you start piling. Straight to racial profiling. Kill hundreds, you wild. I'm kind of man. It's down for causing no rioting. Feel your hate for desire. Trying to crush our empire.
Welcome back to the Michael Imhotep Show right here on the Empowerment Radio Network, where knowledge is power. All right, if you have a question or comment, give us a call, 888-669-2281. 888-669-2281 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment, 888-669-2281. Also, visit our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network. We have information for tonight's show posted right there also, The African History Network. All right, so right before the break, I was just reviewing a little bit of the information that we covered last night on the show, dealing with part one of 11 acts of affirmative action created by the U.S. government throughout history. 11 acts of white affirmative action created by the U.S. government throughout history. Okay? So tonight is part two. Okay, so number 4, you have the Homestead Act of 1862. The Homestead Act of 1862. Now, Dr. Claude Anderson talks about this in Black Labor, White Wealth, so be sure to check that book out, Black Labor, White Wealth. Also in the article, Hard Work or Hardly Working, How White Folks Got So Rich, they talk about it. They talk about it also in there, and in the book, How White Folks Got So Rich. They talk about it in there as well. I pulled up some information last night also from nationalarchives.gov, and they have an extensive article there dealing with the Homestead Act also, okay? But basically what it did was it gave 160 acres of land to the head of household And this was during the Civil War, okay? And you had to work that land for 5 years, make improvements to the land, but you got 160 acres of land, okay? There was also a Homestead Act, a Southern Homestead Act of 1866 as well, okay? Now, in the article here from the Final Call and in the book, How White Folks Got So Rich, they deal with they talk about 1865, but actually the Homestead Act was 1862, and then you had a Southern Homestead Act of 1866 also, okay? But it says here, they talk about how land is the basis of economic development, economic freedom, and business. They say the Homestead Act is probably the most rewarding affirmative action program American whites have ever given themselves. Beginning in 1865, 250 million acres of land were given away to white families, many of whom had actually participated in the Southern Confederate rebellion against America, as much as 640 free acres for each white family. Each acre being about the size of a football field. European immigrants were great beneficiaries of this legal land snatch, while the black ex-slaves who had actually worked that land for generations and the Indians who owned it were kept away from this unprecedented giveaway. Today, more than 3/4 of white families own a home. This important asset allows whites to invest in their children's education, cars, marriages, businesses, and first home down payments, okay? Now, let me see here. Let me get to this. Okay. Check out pages 52 and 53 in How White Folks Got So Rich, pages 52 and 53, dealing with the Homestead Acts, okay? And they deal with the Southern Homestead Act of 1866. Now, this opened up 46 million acres in 5 southern states for millions of ex-slaves and Union veterans, but only about 1,000 blacks ever received title to land, which most often consisted of uncleared woodlands or, quote, refused tracts, unquote, of the poorest quality. In reality, the United States government never intended to give land, the foundation of true freedom, to any of its former slaves. The plan was for blacks to be given the opportunity to buy 40-acre lots after working the land for 3 years. Okay, and though some ex-slaves were settled on 40-acre farms, the land was quickly seized by whites and restored to the former slaveholders. When you check out History.com, the History Channel's official website, and you look at the article that they had, we talked about it last night. Look at the article they have on the Freedmen's Bureau. The Freedmen's Bureau. They break this down in there, how land was taken back. President Andrew Johnson signed it into law. Took back land from some of the slaves who were given land of the former plantation owners. Took back that land and gave it back to the plantation owners. Okay, this was after the Civil War ended. Okay, so we know President Johnson was the vice president under Abraham Lincoln. When Abraham Lincoln was assassinated, Johnson became President Andrew Johnson. Okay, now, and those some ex-slaves were settled on 40-acre farms, the land was quickly seized by whites and restored to the former slaveholders. European immigrants were great beneficiaries of this legal land snatch, while the black ex-slaves who actually worked the land for generations and the Indians who actually owned it were kept far away from this unprecedented giveaway. It is estimated that the wealth of 35 million white families is based on this and other government for whites only land grab programs. Okay, so we're dealing with white affirmative action programs, and Europeans have had affirmative action since they came here to this land. We deal with those 13 colonies, and even the Spanish as well. But you deal with those 13 colonies since 1607. they have had affirmative action programs. They just don't want to tell you this. They want you to think that they got rich just because they worked hard. Okay, I'm not saying you didn't have Europeans who worked hard, but if working hard was the common denominator, then African people would be the richest people in this land, because who worked harder than a slave? Who worked harder than somebody working on a chain gang, or somebody in the convict leasing program, which existed from 1865 to 1928? Who worked harder than a sharecropper? Okay, so come on now, let's keep it real. All right, 888-669-2281 is the call-in number. 888-669-2281 is the call-in number. If you have a question or comment, give us a call. All right, now, California Alien Land Law, 1913. California Alien Land Law, 1913, okay? This was a law to restrict Asian immigrants coming to this country. In the early 1900s, alien land laws were passed in the state of California as well as other states, according to California Newsreel. These laws, quote, reserved farmland for white growers by preventing Asian immigrants ineligible to become citizens from owning or leasing land. Okay? Now, legal limitations regarding immigration also created legalized obstacles for non-whites. The provisions of this act also gave way to the internment of more than 100,000 Japanese Americans. Alien land laws served as a form of racial oppression for roughly 40 years. The McCarran-Walter Act, M-C-C-A-R-R-A-N, the McCarran-Walter Act, brought this repressive phenomenon to an end in 1952. However, white racial preferences in immigration remained until 1965. Okay, and then also you had the Asian Exclusion Act of the in the 1890s, the Asian Exclusion Act. Also, if you read, we talked about this last night. So if you read part 2 of the article of the series, Hard Work or Hardly Working, How White Folks Got So Rich. Read part 2 from the final call from 2011. On page 2, they talk about Asian Exclusion Acts. Asian Exclusion Acts. In 1890, the U.S. government pushed by the unions, okay, because we know the unions were created to keep African Americans out of different industries, because we were the ones doing the work during slavery. There were 262 skills, trades, and crafts that African people had in this country up until 1865. 262. When we come back from the break, we're going to get into that, and we'll continue this discussion. You can give us a call if you have a question or comment, 888-669-2281. 888-669-2281 is the call-in number. You listen to the Michael Imhotep Show right here on the Empowerment Radio Network, where knowledge is power. You can also visit our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network. Okay? We'll be back in a few minutes.
The world with a style that is universal, real and commercial, feel and immerse you in the water. Tired of seeing lost black sons, the daughters of. In 94 we flipped the knot. No truth over the years, couldn't miss the pot. Hip hop when it's changed, but 10 years later back in the game. Come on, push up the fader. We believe in miracles. And Harriet Tubman discovered, don't stop, y'all, get down. Just rock, y'all, get down. Don't stop, y'all, get down. Just rock, y'all, get down. Get down. We'll never all the things. Don't let them define us. Don't let them confine us. You warriors from the underground railroads you see through swamps. VIP in a restaurant. Hillside Project, get down. North Shore Project, get down. They give us back in the medallions to cover our hearts. Keep us far away from the most powerful parts of us. Because they keep us looking outside, and we won't bother looking inside. I'm too old a dude to be scared of profit. We from the old school, this is still hip-hop. And we talk about what we see on Dumb It Down. Cause running around dumb company, we smarter than this. And we can come harder than this. And do a brag rap on the next song in the business. Right now, you know you all in the mess. America. Y'all sure would say, don't stop, y'all, get down. Just rock, y'all, get down. Don't stop, y'all. Get down. Just rock, y'all. Get down. Put your hands together on this one, y'all. Yeah, we got the vibe, man. Put your hands together. Don't stop, y'all. Get down. Just rock, y'all. Get down. Don't stop, y'all. Get down. Get down. Boys, Filipinos, Asian, Latinos, serious addiction.
Hotep, African History Network listeners. October 15th, tax extension deadline time is almost here. If you still haven't filed your taxes for 2014, let G&G Associates help you out. G&G Associates Tax Preparation Services is a black-owned business focused on easing our clients' minds on all their tax preparation needs. We guarantee to beat any other tax professional's price. All new clients who go to our Facebook page and like us will receive a 15% new client discount. You can find us on Facebook by going to hashtag G&G Tax. That's hashtag GNGTAX. Or you can visit our website at gngassociates.net and click on the Taxes tab. Or call us toll-free at 877-220-8333. Again, that website is gngassociates.net.
Can you picture that? Gotta bring it back. Unify with that. Money coming back. Because that money flipping back. Because I'm done joking, I'm heartbroken, I'm outspoken, I'm outgrown, always open, I stay hoping, I'm God's mother, I stay scoping. Gotta run away, I'm stage coaching, keep the hope alive, I stay hoping. 36 box in a square motion, DAP like a magic potion. Hey, Angel City tried to damage ya, touch the Oklahoma, little Africa. First bomb jumping in America, tried to kill them all, we embarrassed ya. Setting up for heaven in the west terrain, now 40 acres and a million claims. Wanna kill us all, what you had to gain? Make them disappear like David Blaine. No man, do the things you did. Kill my sister, kill my brother, kill my woman and kids. I am a man. Travel long to be violent. Taking pictures, you smiling. Homeless waiting at $10. He ain't no man. Guns and guns, you start piling. Straight to racial profiling. Kill 100, you wildin'. I'm a man. It's down for causing no riots. Feel your hate for desire. Trying to crush your empire. They say the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. They say the blacker the town, the tighter the noose. We put our money together and put it to use. We wrestle curing our future. We wreck for the youth. 600 businesses booming, successful and tall. We had the schools and the buses and movies and all hospitals and places to go. We put gas in the tank, and if you needed some money, we go to the bank. Now what I know about that? Everything was all black. Millionaires was all black. Ownership was all black. Because the money circulated like 100 times. To another hand, it was black as mine. Nowadays, it return once is good. Taking all the money out the neighborhood. Brought it to the ground, now we built again. Stupid attitude that was made to win. 48 billion every year will come in. Compared to today's annual income. Now we building, we striving, we unify, we dying. We come together, we work it out. We gotta take a stand. Hey, you ain't no man. Do the things you did. Jump. I'm a man. Drive a bar to be violent. Taking pictures, you smiling. Homeless waiting at $10. You ain't no man. Guns and guns, you start piling. Straight to racial profiling. Kill 100, you wild. I'm kind of man. It's down for causing no riots. Feel your hate for desire. Trying to crush our empire.
Welcome back to the Michael Imhotep Show right here on the Empowerment Radio Network where Knowledge is Power. All right, that's Watoto from the Nile. Watoto from the Nile, the Black Wall Street song. Visit their website, watotofromthenile.bandcamp.com, WATOTO, watotofromthenile.bandcamp.com. Visit their website. You can order their music. Check out their latest CD, The Chosen One. The Chosen One. They have 17 songs on it. Support those young sisters out of Baltimore. All right. 888-669-2281. 888-669-2281 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. All right, we're talking about, this is part 2 of 11 acts of white affirmative action created by the U.S. government throughout history. Part 2 of 11 acts of white affirmative action created by the U.S. government throughout history. And, I'm going to post this meme here on our fan page again. I created this meme. It's of Malcolm X, and I share this quote in some of my presentations, especially in my presentation, Empire Strikes Black, the Propaganda of the Media. Okay. Malcolm said, the media is the most powerful entity on earth. They have the power to make the innocent guilty and to make the guilty innocent, and that's power because they control the minds of the masses. Okay, let me repeat that to you. The media is the most powerful entity on earth. They have the power to make the innocent guilty and to make the guilty innocent, and that's power because they control the minds of the masses. All right, so many people don't understand the propaganda of the media that's being fed to us, especially through the television. It's a vision that tells lies. You call it TV, I call it the television. All right. Okay, so back to this article here from AtlantaBlackStar.com, 11 acts by the U.S. government that proves white affirmative action has been the status quo throughout history. Okay, so you have number 6. This is where we left off last night. The New Deal, 1933-1938. Okay, in his book, When Affirmative Action Was White, An Untold History of Racial Inequality in 20th Century America, Ira Katznelson, Ruggles Professor of Political Science and History at Columbia University, conveys that economic aid was withheld from blacks during the New Deal. In fact, roughly 65% of the black population was denied access to Social Security benefits, government grants, elderly poor assistance, and unemployment insurance, according to a 2006 book review published by Ohio State University. In addition, the California Newsreel article communicated program resulting from the New Deal, quote, helped generate much of the wealth that so many white families enjoy today, end quote. This is due to the fact that it made it possible for millions of average white Americans, but not others, to own a home for the first time. Okay. In fact, for the next 30 years following the implementation of the New Deal, more than 98% of $120 billion in home loans granted by the United States government went to white individuals. Okay, more than 98% of $120 billion in home loans granted by the U.S. government went to white individuals. You have to see how all this is based upon federal policy, state policy, things like this coming from government. Today, the racist financial setbacks put into place by the New Deal are affecting the financial affairs of black families. Now, a lot of those programs that came out of the New Deal, we were not really able to take advantage of those. Many of them discriminated not based upon race, but discriminated based upon occupation. Okay, so when you look at the for instance, you look at the Social Security Administration, which was created in 1935, coming out of the New Deal. Social Security was designed to send support payments to Americans in their senior years, yet its benefits were specifically denied to agricultural and domestic workers, because the vast majority of those jobs were held by non-whites, especially African Americans. Racial legislation often targets its victims by occupation and not explicitly by race. Okay, racial legislation often targets its victims by occupation and not explicitly by race, though the effect is the same. Now, Social Security benefits for the white elderly allow their working-age children to pay for college for their children and to pass more money down through etc. Meanwhile, African Americans who were prevented from receiving these government benefits had to use their already depressed wages to support their elderly parents and had far fewer resources to help their own children. White families and communities were strengthened and stabilized through this program. You have things like unemployment insurance, the National Recovery Act, NRA. Some people call it Negro Removal Act. But the National Recovery Act was enacted in 1933 during the Great Depression, once again, and set American wages at $12 a week. For most jobs African Americans held were not covered by the law, so employers reduced African American wages in order to raise the pay of white workers to meet the National Recovery Act wage requirement. African Americans covered by the higher wage laws were often fired and replaced with whites. Some called the NRA the Negro Removal Act. According to Georgia peanut farmer and U.S. President Jimmy Carter, quote, by law, the average black family got only $8 a week because the presumption was they could live more cheaply, end quote. You have the minimum wage law of 1938 coming out of the New Deal, okay? Now, the minimum wage law originally did not extend to workers in laundries, hotels, hairdressing shops, restaurants, domestic service, or farm work, where, again, African Americans were concentrated. So, once again, they are discriminating based upon occupation as opposed to race, but it's still having the same effect. At least half of all African American workers in the South were excluded. Okay, this is during the Great Depression. The Depression hit us much harder than it did white people. Okay, at least half of all African American workers in the South were excluded. It outlawed child labor for white children, but not for African American children. Okay, by 1943, the average African American family in the rural South made only a third of what poor white families made. In the city, African Americans made $635 a year, while whites made $2,019 a year. Now, the basic cost of subsistence at this time was $1,200 a year. Okay, this is from part 3 of the article "Hard Work or Hardly Working: How White Folks Got So Rich." Part 3. This is from 2011 from thefinalcall.com. All right. That particular information came from that. Okay. Coming up on a break, 888-669-2281 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. We'll be back in a few minutes. 888-669-2281. Listen to the Michael Imhotep Show on the Empowerment Radio Network.
Worry about their welfare. They're not really doing well, they just do it fair. Without medical health care, pockets bare. Hiding they call from the repo man. Checking caller ID before they answer their phone. Bill collectors call around the clock if they home, but they still want to down and replace their lifelong. Blacks want to be green, we want to be psycho. Greedy of us for, so we take the mass transport. Walk streets of beats, what the headphones before. So SUVs, steady still a mad smoke. All the baller images of us in the video. Most people that I know is on foot, living green, naturally, it's all good. I recycle cans of paper goods in my hood, son. No trash mouth, cause trash is better in the and the people go.
I stopped to get some gas at the 6-0. I saw a brother pass by throwing trash out his window. I walked over and I picked it up. It was a styrofoam cup full of cigarette butts. What the He was a thug and a little bug. I'm just trying to be a man that's a cycle land. And we support waste management and their efforts to prevent waste from piling up on each continent. We separate the paper and elastic, then do the same to cardboard and plastic. We take glass and balls filled with halogen and put aluminum and tin in a separate bin. My next of kin, yeah, we heard about it, but we've been letting L4 friends worry about it. So where we from, small covering. So I'm dedicating this verse to helping Mother Earth to recover then.
Grow our trees, flowers blooming, track buzzing bees. Teach our kids how to plant seeds and nurture the harvest till the season comes. Soil we see, soil we see, with the sunshine and some rain, up into the loving, so the sweet and the right and freedom on the other side, the right and freedom on the other side.
Man, he's on dialysis. See, I was to filter his blood every day. I'm trying to learn more about the herbal remedies. Get back to the way God meant to hit the base. Hanging with my beats on the stoop being free. Should've listened to the Indians and not the pilgrims. The world's warming up, there's much less chilling. And yet where I'm from, there's still some convincing. Older folks don't trust the white distinctions. Complete natural living and hocus pocus. So protecting high heat waves, they take no notice.
Sunshine and some rain, up into the loving, so sweet and the right and on the other side, the right and on the other side.
It's always greener. Yeah.
Welcome back to the Michael Imhotep Show right here on the Empowerment Radio Network, where knowledge is power. All right. Follow us on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network. Just posted the quote from Malcolm X there. I'm actually posting the meme right now. Okay. Computer's running a little slowly here. Okay. You can give us a call, 888-669-2281. 888-669-2281 is the call-in number. If you have a question or comment, 888-669-2281.
American Negro collectively is richer than most nations of the world. We have an annual income of more than $30 billion a year, which is more than all of the exports of the United States and more than the national budget of Canada. Did you know that? That's power right there if we know how to food.
We should own and operate and control the economy of our community. We have to become involved in a program of re-education to educate our people into the importance of knowing that when you spend your dollar out of the community in which you live, the community in which you spend your money becomes richer and richer. The community out of which you take your money becomes poorer and poorer. And because these Negroes who have been misled, misguided, are breaking their necks to take their money and spend it with the man. The man is becoming richer and richer, and you're becoming poorer and poorer. And then what happens? The community in which you live becomes a slum. It becomes a ghetto. The conditions become run down. And then you have the audacity to complain about poor housing in a rundown community. Why, you run it down yourself when you take the dollar.
We've got to strengthen black institutions. I call upon you to take your money out of the banks downtown and deposit your money in Tri-State Bank. We are telling you to follow what we are doing. Put your money there. You have 6 or 7 black insurance companies here. Take out your insurance there. Now, these are some practical things that we can do. We begin the process of building a great economic base. We've got to give ourselves to this struggle until the end. We've got to see it through.
So our people not only have to be re-educated to the importance of supporting black business, but the black man himself has to be made aware of the importance of going into business. And once you and I go into business, we own and operate at least the businesses in our community. What we will be doing is developing a situation wherein we will actually be able to create employment for the people in the community.
The black man must unite in one grand racial hierarchy, making a racial empire upon which the sun shall never set. Be black, by black, be black, and all of us take care of itself.
Welcome back to the Michael Imhotep Show. All right. That's M to the third power, Martin, Marcus, and Malcolm, M to the third power. Okay, if you're just tuning in, we're dealing with part 2 of 11 acts of white affirmative action created by the U.S. government throughout history. 11 acts of white affirmative action created by the U.S. government throughout history. And, a few minutes ago we were talking about there were at least 262 skills, trades, and crafts that African people had in this country up until 1865. You can find that information in the book, The Other Slaves, Mechanics, Artisans, and Craftsmen by James E. Newton and Ronald Lewis. Came out in 1978. The Other Slaves, Mechanics, Artisans, and Craftsmen. The book came out in 1978 by James E. Newton and Ronald Lewis. I came across this information at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History here in Detroit, where I am. And it's in the exhibit that they have dealing with our history and slave trade, things like this. And you go through the replica of the slave ship, and you come out on the other side, and you'll see a statue of Harriet Tubman. But there is a display on the wall that listed all these occupations and skills and crafts, things like this that we had. And that's where I got the information from. And there was a picture there that said, on the display, it stated that you could not take pictures. It was against this throughout those exhibits. You can't take pictures, okay? So I spent an hour writing down the different trades and crafts and things like this that we had. That's how I know they're 262, because they were not numbered. I'm the one that numbered them. That's how I know there were 262 of them, okay? So just a few of them were anchor makers, artists, barrel makers, bartenders, basket makers, beer makers, blacksmiths. We know blacksmiths, okay? Some of these skills we're going to take, some of these skills we bring with us from Africa. Others were taught to us. You have boatmen, bookbinders, boot blacks. Now, boot blacks are shoe shine people, shoe shine boys, okay, or shoe shine men, boot blacks. You have brewers like brewing beer, things like this, bricklayers, brick makers, bridle makers. You have carpet cleaners, carriage trimmers, carvers, caterers, caulkers, chain makers, chair makers, chimney sweepers, clergymen, clerks, cloak makers, cloth makers, clothiers, cigar makers, coachmen, coach painters, cobblers, coffin makers, collectors, confectioners. Confectioners, you know, they make candy and sweets, things like this. Confectioners, cooks, coppersmiths. Let's see, daguerreotypers. Now, daguerreotype was the first type of photographic camera. The daguerreotype. Look up daguerreotype. DAGUERROTYPE. I think it is daguerreotype. DAGUERROTYPE. Daguerreotype. Okay, the daguerreotype camera was created around 1826, and for commercial usage, it wasn't available until about the 1830s. Okay, the daguerreotype camera. All right, that was the first type of actual photographic camera. Okay, so when I did my research on John Hanson and proving that John Hanson wasn't president, things like this, the black John Hanson, because there were two John Hansons, I had to do research on cameras. Okay, and found out the first photographic camera wasn't invented till about 1826. All right, so you have distillers and domestics and draftsmen, dressmakers, dyers, dyeing different, DYERS, dyeing different types of clothing and things like this, embroiderers, engine builders, engineers, engravers, finishers, fishermen, flower inspectors, FLOUR, flower inspectors, furniture makers, gardeners, glove makers, goldsmiths, gravers, hair workers, HAIR, hair workers, hairdressers, gunsmiths, hemp baggers, HEMP, hemp baggers. Hemp is the fiber of the marijuana plant. And you had different colonies that grew hemp, and at one point the government demanded that the colonies grow hemp. Okay, hemp was used to make sails. It was used to make rope. All different types of things hemp was utilized for. You have herb doctors, HERB, herb doctors, horse shoers, horse trainers, house painters, hunters, ink makers, instrument makers, inventors, iron molders, ironsmiths, jewelers, laborers, ladies shoemakers, lamplighters, legal assistants, locksmiths, machine blacksmiths, machinists, map mounters, MAP, map mounters, manufacturing chemists, mariners, masons, mast builders, MAST, mast builders, mat makers, okay, merchants, midwives, millers, paper box makers, painters, nurses, molders, peddlers, photo engravers, piano makers, pilots, pipe carvers. Okay, if you're just tuning in, I'm sharing with you a list. Now, these are just a few of them. Okay, this comes from the book, The Other Slaves: Mechanics, Artisans, Craftsmen, from 1978, James E. Newton and Ronald Lewis. This is a list of 262 skills, trades, and crafts that African people had in this country up until 1865. This is just a few of them that I'm sharing with you. There's 262. Okay? We'll be back in a few minutes. Listen to the Michael Imhotep Show right here on the Empowerment Radio Network, where knowledge is power.
Friends of mine worry about their welfare. They're not really doing well, they just do what's fair. Without medical health care, pockets bare. Hiding they call from the repo man. Check and call RID before they answer their phone. They'll collect a call around the clock if they home, but they still want to go and replace their lifelong. Blacks want to be green, we want to be psycho. Many of us poor, so we take the mass transport, walk streets from beats, what the headphones are for. So SUVs, steady still a mad smoke, all the baller images of us in the video. Most people that I know was on foot, living green, actually, it's all good. I recycle cans of paper goods in my hood, son. No trash mouth, cause trash is better in the sun.
people go. I stopped to get some gas at the fix go. I saw a brother pass by throwing trash out his window. I walked over and I picked it up. It was a styrofoam cup full of cigarette butts. What the fuck? He was a thug and a little bug. I'm just trying to be a man that's a cycle man. So we support waste management and their efforts to prevent waste from piling up on each continent. We separate the paper and elastic, then do the same to cardboard and plastic. We take glass and balls filled with halogen and put aluminum and tin in a separate bin. My next again, yeah, we heard about it, but we.
Hello, African History Network family. This is Michael Imhotep, founder of the African History Network and host of the Michael Imhotep Show and the African History Network Show. I want to let you know about a fantastic offer we have available at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can get our Empowerment Bundle Pack, which is on sale right now for only $50, regularly $110. You get 6 of my DVD presentations for one low price. You'll get one of my latest presentations, Empire Strikes Black, the propaganda of the media, and Malcolm X 50 years later, why is he still relevant? This was recorded Easter Sunday, April 5th, 2015 in Detroit. Also, you'll get my presentation dealing with the history of Black Wall Street from destruction to the resurrection of economic empowerment for African Americans. This was recorded November 3rd, 2014 in Seattle, Washington. You'll get my presentation, The Distortion of the Legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., The Revolutionary Will Not Be Televised. The Revolutionary Will Not Be Televised. This was recorded on Dr. King Day, January 19th, 2015 in Detroit. Also, you get Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, What They Didn't Teach You in School, Part 1 of the Media's Deliberate Destruction of the African American Family, and also one of my presentations dealing with the prison industrial complex, Slavery's Back in Effect, the hidden relationship between the prison industrial complex, the new voter ID laws, and black population control. So you get 6 of my DVD presentations for only $50, regularly $110. It's item number 767 at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Also, welcome back to the Michael Imhotep Show right here on the Empowerment Radio Network. All right, that's Greener by Arrested Development. Greener by Arrested Development. Visit their website, ArrestedDevelopmentMusic.com, ArrestedDevelopmentMusic.com. Right before the break, I was sharing with you just a few of the at least 262 skills, trades, and crafts that African people had in this country up until 1865. This information comes from the book The Other Slaves, Mechanics, Artisans, and Craftsmen by James E. Newton and Ronald Lewis. And if you're in Detroit, if you go to the Museum of African American History, the display that had this, it was on the wall, had a chart on the wall that talked about this. It was called A Working Life African American Occupations, A Working Life African American Occupations. And it said, I wrote down what it said also, it said, those owned by skilled tradesmen learned their master's crafts. Directory of occupations held by black artisans and craftsmen prior to 1865. Directory of occupations held by black artisans and craftsmen prior to 1865. So the myth that many Europeans want to tell is that the only thing the slaves did was pick cotton, cook the master's food, wash the master's clothes, take care of the master's children, things like this. But no, that's not true. It was the skills, not just slave labor that built this country. It was the skill sets. These were very skilled people. It was the skill sets these African people had that built this country. Okay, now just a few more, and then we're going to get back to the rest of this information. So you have paper makers, paper hangers, paper box makers, painters, photo engravers, piano makers, pilots, pipe carvers, planters, plasterers, plumbers, portrait painters, potters, practical pharmacists, printers, ink maker, restaurateurs, roofers, rope makers, saddle makers, saddlers, sail makers, saloon keepers, okay, sandpaper makers, sawmillers, seamen, S-E-A-M-E-N, seamen, men out at sea, seamstresses, okay, ship builders, ship captains, ship carpenters, ship keepers, shipwrights, W-R-I-G-H-T-S, shirt makers, shopkeepers, sign painters, silversmiths, soap makers, spectacle makers, eyeglasses, spectacle makers, stone cutters, stone masons, stone sculptors, stove makers, sugar refiners, tailors, tanners, tavern keepers, textile manufacturers, okay, toy makers, typesetters, wagon ironers, wagon trimmers, waiters, watchmakers, watchmen, okay, whip makers, okay, whitewashers, wire workers, wood carvers, wood factors, wood sawyers, okay, York makers. Now, those are just a few of the 262 skills, trades, and crafts that African people had in this country up until 1865, okay? So, now let's get back to this other article here. We were talking about some of during the Great Depression and different programs that African Americans were locked out of for the most part, okay, that came out of the New Deal. So you have the minimum wage law in 1938. You have the Homeowners Loan Corporation, HOLC. After the Great Depression in 1929, approximately 1 million loans were made to help homeowners retain their homes. Not a single penny intentionally went to a African American person, even though a great proportion or a great number of African Americans lost their homes in the Depression. Okay, you also have later you're going to have the Federal Housing Act of 1949, which allowed white people to put down 3% down on low interest loans so that they could buy houses out in the suburbs, the suburbs that were being formed. And when African Americans tried to get these loans, we were discriminated against, and we couldn't move out there. And then when we tried to get them in our own neighborhood because of redlining, we were told these were high-risk areas, and we couldn't get those loans, okay? So we were locked out of this. Now, you look at the Federal Housing Administration, FHA. Private American banks teamed up with the government, sat in front of a map, and drew big red lines around black communities and refused mortgages, home insurance, financing, and loans to everyone inside, a practice called redlining, okay? These are government policies that occurred. Okay, I'm going to talk about the U.S. Highway Act in just a minute of 1952 and 1956 that were lobbied for by the auto industry. Okay, we'll talk about that in just a minute here. Okay, so this is a practice called redlining. Now, this kept African Americans from the wealth building benefits of home ownership and made them vulnerable to loan sharks, who in many cases were the predatory agents of redlining banks. Now, if you go back and listen to the show, we did this show last week, dealing with in Chicago in the 1960s, okay, how African American, how it was called, how real estate speculators cheated blacks out of their homes in 1960s Chicago and how they fought back. Okay, go back and listen to that archive episode, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Click on radio shows at the top of the page. Just click on the link for the Michael Imhotep Show. You'll see a link for audio podcast. This was dealing with in Chicago in the 60s, 50s and 60s. most African Americans couldn't get a traditional mortgage because of redlining. Okay, they were discriminated against. So this set up predatory lenders to sell homes on contract, and they had to pay oftentimes twice as much for the home. They would pay monthly. If you missed, in some instances, if you missed one monthly payment, you lost. You were put out of the house. You didn't get any of your money back. Sometimes you would have 3 months before they would kick you out, something like that. But that was called on contract. Ta-Nehisi Coates, in his article, "The Case for Reparations" for the Atlantic last year, April, May of 2014. He talks about on contract in there also. Okay. And BlackDen.com, we dealt with it in the show that I did last week, but BlackDen.com had an article dealing with how real estate speculators cheated African Americans out of their homes, things like this in the 1960s also. And there was a video, a little short 10-minute documentary from the Atlantic.com that dealt with that also, okay? So check that out. Go back and listen to that archive episode. We have all the information in there, all right? Okay, so you have the Federal Housing Administration. Now, in 1962, President John F. Kennedy banned racial discrimination in federally owned or funded housing, but less than 1% of all housing was covered. The 1964 Civil Rights Act banned discrimination, but less than 20% of new housing was covered. It specifically exempted federal mortgage insurance programs from anti-discrimination laws. The Housing Act of 1968, passed less than 1 week after Dr. King was assassinated, covered over 80% of housing, but provided little enforcement power and offered virtually no protection after the private discriminatory practices of realtors, banks, and zoning boards. Okay, no protection against the private discriminatory practices of realtors, banks, and zoning boards. Okay, so and it wasn't until like 20 years later, it wasn't until about 1988 that they got enough staff to actually enforce those laws. All right, so you're dealing with the Federal Housing Administration. You're dealing with the U.S. Housing Act, also called Urban Renewal, and we called it Negro Removal. Okay, okay. Let's go to the phone lines quickly. Here. Okay, hold on. What's going on here? Okay. All right, caller, welcome to the Michael Imhotep Show. Tell us your name, where you're calling from. Caller, welcome to the Michael Imhotep Show. Tell us your name, where you're calling from. Caller, can you hear me? You're on the air. Okay. All right, give us a call, 888-669-2281. 888-669-2281 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment, okay? Give us a call. All right, we'll have to take a quick break. We'll be back in a few minutes. Listen to the Michael Imhotep Show right here on the Empowerment Radio Network, where knowledge is power.
Carry on, never see us gone. You ain't gonna never see us gone because my Wall Street is black. Can you picture that? Gotta bring it back. Unify with that. Money coming back because that money flipping back. I said my money coming back because that Wall Street is back. Because I'm done joking, I'm heartbroken, I'm outspoken, I'm bout growing, always open. I stay hoping, I'm God's mother, I stay scoping. Gotta run away, I'm safe coaching. Hit the hook a lot, I stay hoping. 36 blocks in a square motion. DAP like a magic potion. Hey, just see the cut the damage, yeah. Touch Oklahoma, little Africa. First bomb jumping in America. Try to kill them all, we embarrass ya. Setting up for heaven in the worst of rain. Now 40 acres and a million claims. Wanna kill us all, what you had to gain? Make them disappear like David Wayne. No man, do the things you did. Kill my sister, kill my brother, kill my woman and kids. I am a man. Drive a bomb to be violent. Taking pictures, you smiling. Homeless rate at $10. You ain't no man. Bombs and guns, you start piling. Straight to racial profiling. Kill a hug if you wild. Kind of man. It's down for causing no riots. Feel your hateful desire. Trying to crush your empire. They say the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. They say the blacker the town, the tighter the noose. We put our money together and put it to use. We run the curing off.
Hello, African History Network family. This is Michael Imhotep, founder of the African History Network and host of the Michael Imhotep Show and the African History Network Show. I want to let you know about a fantastic offer we have available at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can get our Empowerment Bundle Pack, which is on sale right now for only $50, regularly $110. You get 6 of my DVD presentations for one low price. You'll get one of my latest presentations, Empire Strikes Black, the propaganda of the media, and Malcolm X 50 years later, why is he still relevant? This was recorded Easter Sunday, April 5th, 2015 in Detroit. Also, you'll get my presentation dealing with the history of Black Wall Street from destruction to the resurrection of economic empowerment for African Americans. This was recorded November 3rd, 2014 in Seattle, Washington. You'll get my presentation, The Distortion of the Legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the revolutionary will not be televised. The revolutionary will not be televised. This was recorded on Dr. King Day, January 19th, 2015 in Detroit. Also, you get Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school, part 1 of the media's deliberate destruction of the African American family, and also one of my presentations dealing with the prison industrial complex, slavery's back in effect, the hidden relationship between the prison industrial complex, the new voter ID laws, and black population control. So you get 6 of my DVD presentations for only $50, regularly $110. It's item number 767 at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Also, you can get the Michael Imhotep Bundle Pack, where you get 18 of my presentations for one low price as well. It's available at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. So place your order today. Remember, right now it corrects wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you is based upon what you think about yourself. Mod Hotep, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace.
Thought they could rap and hip-hop got saturated, watered down, gotta pay homage to the sound, whether you wasn't around, no matter the hometown, we was all down for black, we raised each other kids, watched each other back, we were safe to go out, take in the sun rays, come in, chill out, fall asleep to Arcade, Donnie Hathaway, Frankie Beverly and Mays, of when the fire out covers, I was there for days, Black Wall Street, up and running for us, still together financially, African trust, when we had black leaders that wouldn't sell out, fly around on the media, lying to the media, come to our community, holding the rap parties, get this Kool-Aid, hurt our people every day, we took the grab, stayed with our family, wasn't about status, wasn't about salary, helping our people was just a mere formality, keep our kids from Disney, teaching reality. Let's bring it back to the Chitlin Circuit when everybody was working, black art on display, city to city networking, black like them old time churches with rebel pastors like that circus, before them 4 little girls got burned up, make you wanna holler. Back before these bootlicking, Bentley whipping pimps, preachers, pimps started popping collars. Back before Eddie Wrong and TV Snake kept your dollars. Black like them world-renowned scientists and scholars. From Imhotep to J.A. Rogers, blackness has a fashion. Osmo, Cold Train, Thelonious Monk. We the one to respect, Motown, punk. This is Greg had you on the bump. Rudy Ray Moore, the burn and trunk. Do your research, young world, and then you might feel this love. Peace, soul, like all millions. Back when Church Mayfield would embrace us. Back when Richard Pryor would joke all the races. We were comfortable in our own skin. No surgery, we loved our nose, legs, and chin. Back when we were thin, not all obese. Before diabetes started hanging in our streets. Before the color beats, red against blue. You against me against you. Black for crack pipe, fake hair, and baby wipes. We kept the front door open and locked overnight. We had families, we started businesses, and now we act like we don't know what the business is. Smell that? I smell slavery amongst us. Gotta wake up and protect all the youngsters. Can't let the European paradigm puncture the minds of our youth, or they'll get used to SpongeBob, Desperate Housewives, and Oprah. Supposed to be evolving, but suck on the sofa. It's better in the movement where we supposed to be. That's better getting free like Omia and Huey P. We got ladies for days and days, you see. No Malcolm C, there's still no vacancy. Black children are lost, they can't remember facts when they can't take you about the freedom fight Jackson, but they can tell you about the Simpsons and the Jetsons. Before integration, at least a weapon. We was two-stepping to the sounds of the drum. Africa, y'all know where I'm from. Black law, y'all, where my college at? This is showdown, we bringing Del Jones back. RBG love, man, we need to show that. Precise JB and the net, man, that's a rap.
Way before B-more became a place of ignorance. Before disaster crashed place in it. Before we lived in a space that had the unity. We lived in villages, we had communities. This individualism, it was developing. You need some bricks and some shit, but you know I'm following. But now my people walk around like they the walking dead. But we reversing the cycle, yo, I'm a constant. Heaven on earth, the city, yo, we creating that. I know my currency with me, cycle something black. Black with hip-hop wasn't just about writing rap, but the movement discovered the spit proof on the track. Fabrication, protecting the city righteously. If that money didn't talk us into selling all of our property. That only do hands just walk the coffin. Instead of pulling gas, looking bullets for balls. And that's what this is the African flag. It's up the continent, never saluting the American flag. That's no resolve, man. Wine to the time, they know how to act. The way to do that, living is wax. Get back, go to the history and not go back. Only way we get on track is to go back to black. Back to black, back to black, back to black, back to black.
Get back to black. That is Precise Science, Back to Black. Visit movementtunes.com. Movementtunes.com with one T. You can download the music from Precise Science. Support conscious hip hop. Support real hip hop. Shout out to Rough Mike and Freedom Writer, who make up Precise Science out of Baltimore, Tubman City. All right. 888-669-2281. 888-669-2281 is the calling number if you have a question or comment. I'm not sure what happened to the caller that called in. I guess they couldn't hear me. Okay. So we're going to continue here. Part 2 of 11 acts of white affirmative action created by the U.S. government throughout history. Right before the break, we were talking about the Federal Housing Administration. Now, you also have the U.S. Housing Act, also known as Urban Renewal. Now, we called it Negro Removal. Okay. Now, this was a series of federal laws that destroyed 400,000 homes by 1960, but only 11,000 lower rent replacement units were built. The U.S. Housing Act allows segregation and discrimination to intensify in outlying areas, forcing African Americans and Latinos, Hispanics, into geographically concentrated areas in the inner cities. Okay, it also destroyed many African American owned businesses by the displacement of customers and the rerouting of traffic. They ran expressways right through them. Now, you have the U.S. Highway Acts of 1952 and 56, okay? And Dr. Claude Anderson talks a lot about this. And I remember my dad telling me about this also when I was a lot younger as well. If you look at page 57 of How White Folks Got So Rich, The Untold History of American White Supremacy, they talk about the Federal Aid Highway Act of 1956, the Federal Aid Highway Act of 1956. It says it allocated $25 billion for the construction of 41,000 miles of the interstate highway system. Let me repeat this to you, okay, because unfortunately, most of us we don't have this type of information, and our so-called leaders are not telling us this, okay? The Federal Aid Highway Act of 1956 allocated $25 billion for the construction of 41,000 miles of the interstate highway system. Okay, it was the largest public works project in American history up to that time, and it opened up the suburbs for white flight. It opened up the suburbs for white flight, so white people leaving the inner city, moving out to the suburbs, while simultaneously providing, check this out, millions of whites-only construction jobs. So not only did they run the expressway through about 1,600 African-American communities all across the country. We saw this here in Detroit with Paradise Valley, Black Bomb. Paradise Valley was an African-American business district. You had about 300 some odd African-American owned businesses there. Ran expressways right through I-375 and I-75 freeway, ran right through there, okay? Wiped those businesses out. But not only did you have that take place, but then you had the creation of millions of jobs for basically white men, construction jobs, okay, building the highways, 41,000 miles of the highways, okay. All right, now, look, I'm going to try to see if I can get this clip here to play. We tried it last night. Let's try this again here. I don't know if this is going to work or not. Let's try this here. This is Dr. King. I'm going to see if I can get this to work here. Okay, we're seeing if it's okay, it's not playing on you all's end. You don't hear it. I have to see it's something with the formatting of this clip here. But let me they have they have the words from Dr. King here. Okay. Page 55 of the book. Okay, this is what I was trying to play for you, the clip. But here's what Dr. King said. He said, this was in 1968, okay? He spoke at a rural Mississippi church and put land, the ownership of land, front and center. He said, at the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges and with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself up by his own bootstraps. This is what we are faced with, and this is a reality. Now, when we come to Washington in this campaign, we're coming to get our check. All right, look, we got to take a quick break. We're going to go into overtime. Switch over to our Blog Talk Radio channel, blogtalkradio.com/The African History Network Show, blogtalkradio.com/The African History Network Show. You can also call in and listen by phone, 914-338-1375. 914-338-1375 is the call-in number, okay? We're about to run out of time here on the Empowerment Radio Network. We're here Monday through Friday, 10 p.m. to 12 midnight Eastern Standard Time on the Empowerment Radio Network. Remember that these shows are archived, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Click on radio shows at the top of the page. Just click on the link for the audio podcast. And also, we archive them on our Blog Talk Radio page as well, blogtalkradio.com/The African History Network Show. And they're on iTunes as well. Remember, on the Michael Imhotep Show, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. We'll talk to you next time. Peace.
Without medical health care, pockets red. Hiding their card from the repo man. Second call RID before they answer their phone. Bill collectors call around the clock if they home, but they still want to gone and replace their life bulbs. Blacks want to be green, we want to recycle. Many of us poor, so we take the mass transport, walk streets, fuck beats, what the headphones are for. For SUVs, then it's still the mass smoke. All the baller images of us in the video. Most people that I know was on foot, living green, naturally, it's all good. I recycle cans of paper goods in my hood, son. No trash now, cause trash is better in the back. And the people go. I stopped to get some gas at the 6-0. I saw a brother pass by throwing trash out his window. I walked over and I picked it up. It was a styrofoam cup full of cigarette butts. What the fuck? He was a thug and a little bug. I'm just trying to be a man that's recycling. We support waste management and their efforts to prevent waste from piling up on each continent. We separate the paper and elastic, then do the same, the cardboard and plastic. We take glass and balls filled with halogen and put aluminum and tin in a separate bin. My next of kin, yeah, we heard about it.
it. But we've been letting L4 friends worry about it. So where we from, small covering. So I'm dedicating this verse to helping Mother Earth to recover in.
Whoa, I dream. Flowers blooming, track buzzing bees. Drop your title, plant seeds, and nurture the harvest till the season comes.
Afro Man Episode 3 is finally here, and it's even better than Episode 1 and 2. Afro Man and the Protectors of the Book of Knowledge, Episode 3. Afro Man has decoded the secret power within math and science, and with this discovery, he delivers Battle Gear Afro Man to fight the new villain known as Serapis. Get your copy today at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. It's item number 745. Also, you can get all 3 episodes of Afro Man in a bundle pack for only $25. It's item number 746, available at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Afro Man is very entertaining, but also educational because it teaches our children about their history and culture. It's for ages 5 to 10 years old. These are African American superheroes which instill self-empowerment with our children. For more information, visit AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. The long-awaited 3rd installment of Hidden Colors 3 is available now at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Hidden Colors 3, The Rules of Racism, is the 3rd installment of the critically acclaimed documentary series Hidden Colors 1 and 2. This installment of Hidden Colors tackles the taboo subject of systematic racism. The film explores how institutional racism affects all areas of human activity: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war, and the rules, laws, and public policies that are utilized to maintain this system are discussed in Hidden Colors 3, The Rules of Racism. This documentary features commentary from a diverse group of scholars, authors, and entertainment icons, including Professor Kabahai Watakamene, also known as Booker T. Coleman, nationally certified school psychologist Dr. Umar Johnson, rappers Nas and David Banner, legendary comedian Paul Mooney, legendary comedian and activist Dick Gregory, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, author of the ISIS Papers, director Tariq Nasheed, Sherazad Ali, author of The Black Man's Guide to Understanding the Black Woman, Dr. Joy DeGruy, author of Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, Dr. Phil Valentine, and George Fraser, master networker and businessman, and author of Success Runs in Our Race. Hidden Colors 3, The Rules of Racism, is item number 749 at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. For a limited time only, you will automatically receive 1 free DVD of mine, Michael Imhotep, with each copy of Hidden Colors 1, 2, and 3 that you purchase. You can also get the Hidden Colors bundle pack, where you get all 3 installments of Hidden Colors for one low price, and you'll get 3 free DVD presentations from myself, Michael Imhotep. And we have the Hidden Colors Family Bundle Pack, where you get 11 DVDs for one low price. So you'll get all 3 installments of Hidden Colors, all 3 installments of Afro Man and the Protectors of the Book of Knowledge, which is an animated series for children. You'll get the DVD documentary Urban Kryptonite, which deals with holistic health for African Americans. You'll get my presentation dealing with the history of Black Wall Street, and 3 free DVD presentations from me also. So you'll get 11 DVDs for one low price in the Hidden Colors Family Bundle Pack. They're all available at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Order your copies today. Remember, right knowledge corrects wrong behavior, and Imhotep.
So the narrative of black people in the United States was, you know, you came from the primitive, savage people who had no history, and everything you are, we made you.
Strip the African of his knowledge of himself. You can then replace that knowledge with any falsification of consciousness you desire. Once you take from me my knowledge of myself, you can then tell me those lies.
To get someone to actually think that someone else is inferior, you have to raise that type of mentality to a religious level.
America has done all of these terrible things to black people, and then they complain when we do it to ourselves. We're mirroring what they have always done to us since we got off those boats.
It's easy to sit up somewhere and talk with black people about black people. But it's not so easy to have to sit up and look at white people's face and talk to them about white people. Now, that's what I know.
See, white ain't a color, it's an attitude. And you got to have big boats to be an attitude.
My mom used to say, you darker, work harder. But the darker you are, the harder you have to work, the smarter you have to be.
Folks are breastfed on racism. Breastfed.
If you're talking about a problem in the world and you're not dealing with white supremacy, you ain't talking about the problem.
There's never been a real dialogue in America about race because whenever we start to talk about race, the conversation will venture into what's wrong with black people.
White people did whatever they wanted to do to black people. So what are the rules?
Welcome back to the Michael Imhotep Show. We are in overtime here on the Blog Talk Radio Network. Listen to the show Monday through Friday, 10 p.m. to 12 midnight Eastern Standard Time on the Empowerment Radio Network. But we have some more information to cover tonight. We're going to be here for a few more minutes. Some of this other information we have to get to tomorrow night. So I have to get out of here. I have to prepare to be in Washington, D.C. again on Saturday. Okay, so I have to put some things in place and get out of here. That's basically what it boils down to. And I think this time I may have to catch the bus because I'm looking at the prices of these flights and it's just too damn expensive. So I may have to take the bus again this time. I flew out there. Let's see, when I went to Congressional Black Caucus, I flew out there and then took the bus back. But looking at the price of some of these flights, I think I'm just take the bus there and come back that way as well, okay? All right. Calling number is 914-338-1375. 914-338-1375 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. This is part 2 of 11 acts of white affirmative action by the U.S. government throughout history, okay? And we did part 1 last night. Listen to the archive episodes for that, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Click on radio shows at the top of the page, and we have the information there for the show, for the archive episodes. You click on the link for the archive episodes. Also, go to blogtalkradio.com /The African History Network Show, blogtalkradio.com /The African History Network Show. Okay? All right, so I shared some information with you about something that Dr. King said in 1968 dealing with land. That was from page 55 of the second edition of How White Folks Got So Rich, The Untold Story of American White Supremacy. When you look at things like the public housing projects, okay? Now, the U.S. government created massive racially segregated cities, with cities within cities that became infamously known in the black world as the projects, okay? Now, many of these developments were cheaply built and temporary housing for returning World War II veterans. They're coming back 1946, returning World War II veterans, until the GI Bill and other veteran benefit programs allowed the white vets to move into single-family homes in racially exclusive suburbs. Okay, once again, this is all dealing with government laws, government legislation, government funding, things like this. Okay, black vets facing multiple discriminations were locked into these poorly built and maintained projects, which ultimately became multi-generational black slums. All right. Now, if we look at the article "Hard Work or Hardly Working," how white people got so rich, part 3 of that series, they talk about aid to families with dependent children, also known as AFDC, aid to families with dependent children. A couple mornings ago on News One Now with Roland Martin, when they were talking about, I think it was Monday, they were talking about Jeb Bush's comments. Roland Martin pointed out that, wait a second, these different programs, originally, these were not for African Americans. These were for white people. AFDC was for white women, okay? It was originally designed for white women, and it became stigmatized as a program for unmarried, lazy, loose African American mothers. It was the only program with a quote-unquote morals test, M-O-R-A-L-S, a morals test for recipients terminating women with husbands or men living in their living in the home, men living in the homes, effectively destroying African American families. In Georgia, one study found that 14% of eligible white families received benefits, but only 1.5% of eligible African American families received benefits. Okay, when you look at the GI Bill, okay, and job placement, all right, $95 billion was spent on the GI Bill from 1944 to 1971. $95 billion with a B, $95 billion. But various methods were used to discriminate against African Americans. Those African Americans who could qualify were steered into menial jobs. Okay, in 1946, 86% of white vets were referred to professional jobs, and 92% of African American vets were referred to unskilled service jobs. Let me repeat this. In 1946, 86% of white veterans were referred to professional jobs, and 92% of African American veterans were referred to unskilled service jobs. Refusing these jobs was grounds for denial of other benefits like unemployment insurance. Okay? Now, to avoid using the language of racism, the federal government put the operation of these programs in the hands of local governments, which meant that racist white Southern officials determined who received the benefits. Okay, just as they determined who could and could not vote. All right. When we look at the GI Bill as far as education, now that was the GI Bill looking at job placement. Okay. When we look at the GI Bill as far as education, 2 million World War II veterans attended college under the GI Bill, but eligible African Americans were excluded from white universities, and the few small underfunded African American schools, or HBCUs, were swamped with tens of thousands more applicants than they were able to admit. 55% of them were turned away. Whites obtained education and moved rapidly into upper middle classes. African Americans who believed their military service would give them better opportunities were frustrated yet again. Okay? Now, these are government programs that we're talking about. All right? Now, if we go back to our main article, and we're going to wrap this up here in a few minutes, 11 acts by the U.S. government that proves white affirmative action has been the status quo throughout history. Number 7, the Wagner Act of 1935. It granted white labor unions permission to practice collective bargaining. Now, according to California Newsreel, the acts helped millions of white workers gain entry into the middle class over the next 30 years. Furthermore, the Wagner Act also legalized the racist exclusion of African American people from labor unions. The Wagner Act also legalized the racist exclusion of African American people from labor unions. As a result, they were denied access to better paid jobs and union protections and benefits such as health care, job security, and pensions. The racist practice was the status quo among labor unions until the 1970s. When we look at the GI Bill of Rights, 1944, we just talked about that some in the other article here. According to Katznelson's book, Black American veterans were denied many liberties granted by the GI Bill. In fact, he argues that the law was, quote, deliberately designed to accommodate Jim Crow, end quote. This is due to the fact that Southern political officials ensured that GI Bill of Rights was implemented by local white racist leaders as opposed to the federal government. We just talked about that. Now, we saw that in the final call. Here you have a white person or a Jewish person, and Jews are white too, talking about the same thing, okay? Put it in the hand of local government as opposed to the federal government. All right. And in doing so, thousands of black veterans in the South and the North as well were denied housing and business loans, as well as admission to whites only colleges and universities, according to an article released by the New York Times. Okay. In addition, they were not allowed to participate in job training programs for careers in promising new fields like radio and electrical work, commercial photography, and mechanics. As a result, these black veterans were subject to low-paying black jobs and small colleges, which were pitifully underfinanced and ill-equipped to meet the needs of a surging enrollment of returning soldiers. All right, so. And there's a GI Bill. Now, number 9, labor laws regulating unionizing. Labor laws regulating unionizing. The National Labor Relations Act, Fair Labor Standards Act, Taft-Hartley Act. Now, the National Labor Relations Act of 1935 was passed in 1935, while the Fair Labor Standards Act was passed in 1938. Both acts contain provisions that purposely, quote, exempted agricultural and domestic labor, end quote, from unionizing, according to the 2006 Ohio State University book review of When Affirmative Action Was White, an Untold History of Racial Inequality in 20th Century America. Okay, once again, discriminating based upon occupation, okay, which disproportionately affects African Americans. Now, as a result, white workers were able to unify and make workforce advances, while those who worked within the sectors of agriculture and domestic labor, which overwhelmingly consisted of African American workers, were left to languish in further poverty. Furthermore, when African American workers began to make labor-related strides during the Second World War, the Taft-Hartley Act was passed by the Republican Party in 1947. Under the guidelines of this act, the burgeoning connections between civil rights agitation and demands for economic equality were severed. Let me repeat this. Under the guidelines of this act, the burgeoning connections between civil rights agitation and demands for economic equality were severed. Okay. Number 10, the Fair Deal, 1945 to 1953. The Fair Deal, 1945 to 1953. Now, according to the review released by Ohio State's University, President Truman's Fair Deal, just as President Roosevelt's New Deal, quote, secured the social well-being of white ethnic groups, end quote. Secured the social well-being of white ethnic groups. Okay, this is the Fair Deal. Once again, it's a raw deal for us. In addition, the article released by the New York Times argues that when compared to the white counterparts, African Americans under the Fair Deal were worse off in regards to the educational achievement. Quality of jobs and housing, and attainment of higher income. Just like the New Deal, the Fair Deal served the purpose of widening the gap between white and African Americans. Okay, so that's the Fair Deal from 1945-1953, President Truman's Fair Deal. Okay, then number 11, you have Executive Order 10925 in 1961. Now, the legal policy of affirmative action. And that's what that executive order was for affirmative action. The legal policy of affirmative action for African Americans did not come into play until the early 1960s, with an executive order issued by late President John F. Kennedy. Yet the years following the implementation of the policy showed that affirmative action benefited the minority group of white women more than it did African Americans. Actually, white women are a majority. Okay, there are more women in America than men, 51% to 49%, and there are more white people in America than anybody else. It's 63% approximately. Okay, so white women are a majority. Yet the years following the implementation of the policy showed that affirmative action benefited the minority group of white women more than it did African Americans. Okay, actually the majority group of white women. This reality was made possible by the 1967 amendment of Kennedy's executive order. Now, this change added sex to the list of characteristics that were not to be discriminated against. As a result, data and studies suggest women, white women in particular, have benefited disproportionately. According to a 2013 article released by Time, it's Time.com, Time magazine. Now, in fact, a 1995 study confirms that 6 million women, the majority of whom were white, had jobs they would not have had otherwise held but for affirmative action. Okay, so check out this article, 11 Acts of the U.S. government that proves white affirmative action has been the status quo throughout history. Listen to the podcast of this show and the one we did last night. There was part one we did last night. Visit AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Click on radio shows at the top of the page and listen to the podcast. All right, look, Planned Parenthood, we're going to get to that tomorrow night. I got to get to the story about Elizabeth Warren because I've been putting it off for a couple of nights and we just ran out of time, had not had a chance to get to it. Okay, so they talked about this on Lawrence O'Donnell's show, The Last Word. Talked about this, I think it was this last Friday or what? Let me see here. This was, Monday. Okay, seems like it was last Friday. Okay, but it was Monday. Lawrence O'Donnell, he spoke with, he talked about Senator Warren and her position on police use of deadly force and, quote, the fear, the oppression, and the pain that confronts African Americans every day. And he spoke with Black Lives Matter activist DeRay McKesson, okay, also about this as well. Okay, so we're going to go to that clip in just a minute. Be sure to visit our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network. We have a lot of information there, post articles throughout the day. Check that out. Also, you can order my DVDs from my website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. AfricanHistoryNetwork.com have 22 DVD presentations there. Check out our bundle packs. You get the Empowerment Bundle Pack 1 and 2, 6 DVDs in each one. Check that out. We have it right on the homepage of our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Okay, let's go to this clip here.
Yesterday in Boston at the institute named for Ted Kennedy, her predecessor in the Senate, Elizabeth Warren, delivered a speech strongly supportive of the Black Lives Matter movement.
Listen to the brave, powerful voices of today's new generation of civil rights leaders, incredible voices. Listen to them say, if I die in police custody, know that I did not commit suicide. Watch them when they march through the streets. Hands up, don't shoot. Not to incite a riot, but to fight for their lives. To fight for their lives.
In the 25-minute speech, Senator Warren discussed racial discrimination in several arenas, including residential real estate, but she concentrated on police use of deadly force.
In the same way that the tools of oppression were woven together, a package of civil rights laws came together to protect black people from violence, to ensure access to the ballot box, and to build economic opportunity. Or to say it another way, Black lives matter, Black citizens matter, and Black families matter. We have seen sickening videos of unarmed Black Americans cut down by bullets, choked to death while gasping for air, their lives ended by those who are sworn to protect them. Peaceful, unarmed protesters have been beaten. Journalists have been jailed. And in some cities, white vigilantes with weapons freely walk the streets. I speak today with full knowledge that I have not personally experienced and can never truly understand the fear, the oppression, and the pain that confronts African Americans every day. But none of us can ignore what is happening in our country, not when our black friends, family, neighbors literally fear dying in the streets. It is a tragedy when any American cannot trust those who are sworn to protect and serve. The pervasive and persistent distrust is not based on myths. It is grounded in the reality of unjustified violence. Policing must be a community endeavor, not just in some cities, but everywhere in this country. Police forces should look like and come from the neighborhoods they serve. They should reach out to support and defend the community, working with people in neighborhoods before problems arise. All police forces, not just some, must be trained to de-escalate and to avoid the likelihood of violence. Body cameras can help us know what happened when someone is hurt. We honor the bravery and sacrifice that our law enforcement officers show every day on the job and the noble intention of the vast majority of those who take up the job to keep us safe. But police are not occupying armies. This is America, not a war zone. And policing practices in all cities, not just some, need to reflect that reality.
Bring us now to DeRay McKesson, a Black Lives Matter activist. DeRay, that was as strong, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that was as strong a statement of support for your activity as any major politician in this country has given.
Yeah, and without equivocation, she called into question America's commitment to Black lives, which was really powerful. And she also noted that the protests were a response to the deep legacy of institutional racism in the country by highlighting housing, voting, and then
yeah, she didn't begin the story she was telling in the last 12 or 24 months.
Correct.
And she linked everything that she kept using the phrase Black Lives Matter as kind of the end, the rationale for all previous civil rights legislation.
Yeah, and she did it, in a way that was so true to the way she normally talks about the work, like this economic approach to the work, which is why she started with housing, and she got us to voting, and then she talked about policing in a way that was authentic to her voice and also true to the spirit of the protest. It was by far one of the most powerful and coherent speeches we've seen from any political leader.
And very carefully chosen words, because we saw her reading each one of these words she had written. So every word she said was done with real deliberation. Now, you famously have exchanged this tweet. Hillary Clinton tweeted to you, "Let's meet. We want to hear from anyone ready to address this urgent problem and work towards solutions. Our team will follow up." What's the status of you meeting with Hillary Clinton?
Yeah, so we're working on a date and time. I hope that it'll be in October, but we're still trying to figure it out. And with Warren, it'll be important that she actually puts her speech into action, right? Because the words are really powerful, but the next steps. With Hillary Clinton, we're scheduling.
And what is it that you hope to, in your half of the meeting with Hillary Clinton, you will say what?
Yeah, so we'll talk about Campaign Zero, the platform around police reform that we rolled out, but we'll also ask her about her history around criminal justice. She hasn't rolled out a platform yet, so we will be prepared to talk about the speeches that she's given and ask her questions about those, and hopefully really inform the platform that is eventually going to come out in the same way that our meeting with Sanders, we talked in depth about his platform.
Bernie Sanders here. I want to listen to one more thing Elizabeth Warren said. It's about a conversation she had with Congressman John Lewis and his history in the civil rights movement. Let's listen to what she said.
He said something I will never forget. He said his parents didn't want him to get involved in civil rights. They didn't want him to cause trouble. But he'd done it anyway. He said, sometimes it is important to cause necessary trouble.
Is that the spirit of the Black Lives Matter movement?
It's true, protest is America's original political act, right? And that quote from John Lewis just highlights that so perfectly, that like it is in the confrontation and disruption that we have made so much progress in America, and she calls that out perfectly.
Yeah, and the audience for this speech, obviously it's at the Kennedy Institute, at the JFK Library, a very, very receptive audience to this, but nationally, that's not what she would be facing if she was giving this speech in a larger venue.
Yeah, I think that there's clearly been pushback to these messages about the deep legacy of racism. I was impressed that she clearly just says that America was founded on these racist principles and talks about this legacy. Again, it'll be interesting to see what those words turn into, right? Will she use her platform as a senator to address these issues in Massachusetts and Boston and help us push national legislation to end police violence and to end the other forms of discrimination that she named so aptly in this speech the other day?
Jerry McKesson, thanks for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it. And, on the day you have the meeting with Hillary, you just come right back. You sit right there, okay? And at any other time, we'd love to have you back. Thank you very much, Trey.
All right. So that was from, what day was that? Okay, that was from Monday, I think it was. Monday. Seems like last Friday. Seems like longer. Okay, but that was from Monday. The Last Word with Lawrence O'Donnell on MSNBC. I watch about 6 to 10 hours of MSNBC a day. It's and then I watch an hour of Roland Martin, News One Now with Roland Martin also. Okay, so it's a lot of work. Okay, visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We have information there for you, DVDs, etc. We have a list of solutions that we can implement in our communities right now. Okay, so tomorrow night, what we're going to do, we're going to get into some of the solutions that we can implement as well. Okay, we have 24 listed on our website, and I've added some more, so I have like a total of 33. We're not going to go through all 33 tomorrow night, but we're going to highlight some of them. Okay, we'll deal with that tomorrow night on the show. All right, let's get to this date in African American history quickly so we can get out of here, because I have to look at getting on the road on Friday, I guess it is, to be in D.C. for Saturday. All right, September 30th, Crispus Attucks escaped from the clutches of his Massachusetts slaveholder. On this date in 1750, September 30th, 1750. In 1770, Crispus Attucks was the first person to die in the Boston Massacre. He and over 5,000 blacks fought in the American Revolution. Okay. Now, Johnny Mathis, popular singer, was born in San Francisco, California on this date in 1935. Wonderful, Wonderful, Chances Are, Is Not For Me To Say, and 12th of Never with some of his popular songs. On this date in 1947, Jackie Robinson, the first African-American baseball player in the major leagues, became the first African-American person to compete in the World Series. On this date in 1962, President John F. Kennedy authorized the use of federal troops to escort James Meredith's integration of the University of Mississippi. And on this date, 1966, the African nation of Botswana gained its independence. Okay, you can read more facts at yenoba.com, YENOBA, yenoba.com. All right, we have to get out of here. Remember, on the Michael Imhotep Show, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. We'll talk to you next time. Peace.
Gotta bring it back. Unify with that. Money coming back, because that money flipping back. I said my money coming back, because that Wall Street is back. Because I'm done joking, I'm heartbroken, I'm outspoken, I'm outgrowing, always open. I stay hoping, I'm God's mother, I stay.
You know what? I forgot to announce something here. Nandy at Nandy's Knowledge Cafe, she's bringing in Irritated Genie Saturday, October 3rd. Saturday, October 3rd and 4th is going on. October 3rd, he's dealing with the feminization of the black male. $15 adults, $8 children. Children 11 and under are free. Call for more information. He's there Saturday and Sunday, October 3rd and 4th. For more information, call Nandy's Knowledge Cafe, 313-865-1288, 313-865-1288. Nandy's Knowledge Cafe is located at 12511 Woodward Avenue, Highland Park, Michigan. 12511 Woodward Avenue, Highland Park, Michigan. It starts at 3 p.m. on Saturday, and check the times for Sunday. Let's see what time is it on Sunday. It starts with, okay, what did they do? All right. Both, okay. Saturday and Sunday is 3 p.m. Starts at 3 p.m. Call 313-865-1288 for more information, okay? All right, we got to get out of here. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow night, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. 10 p.m. to 12 midnight Eastern Standard Time. Listen to the Michael Imhotep Show on the Empowerment Radio Network. Shows are podcasted on our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Click on radio shows there for the podcast.
Man, second call our ID before they answer their phone. Bill collectors call around the clock if they home, but they still want to gone and replace their light bulbs. Blacks want to be green, we want to be psycho. Many of us poor, so we face